chance to make it 28-3. Arthur Blank loving it, up by 25. Toss to White. He's in! What a comeback!
All right, you're here at the 28-3 podcast. I'm Corey. I'm here with Max and Nick. So last episode, we got into kind of the State of the Saints Part 1, post-draft, pre-OTAs, all that other stuff kicking off with the offense. Nick and I got into it. We've still gotten into it since the last episode, and we won't ever stop getting into it. But we're going to get into the defense on this episode. So, Max, you've talked to me a lot about what's going on with the defense heading into this year. Give me some of those thoughts right now.
Yeah, I think it's only natural that we start off with the defensive line, since that's seen the most turnover since last season. We'll start off with the big one, Brian Brzee. Huge addition in the first round. Also, Colin Saunders, it's another big pickup. Yeah. I think the biggest thing was, we lost some guys who weren't really consistent. Case in point, Marcus Davenport, 2 first, as he's been known in the Saints Twitter community. The guy's been a massive disappointment as a first-round pick. Just losing him, to me, I know there was some analyst who was saying it's not a good thing to lose him, but to me, it's addition by subtraction.
I wish him all the missed tackles for the Vikings.
Yeah, let's just, get him out of here at this point. He's not bringing anything good. There's always going to have the stigma of the 2 first-round picks attached to his name. So I think that was addition by subtraction. David Onyemata, he at one point in time was a really good defensive lineman, was a great draft pick, far outperformed the slot that he was drafted in.
Hashtag own your mama or own your monster.
There you go. But, losing him to the Falcons, that hurts a little bit, but I think the contract that they gave him, that's an outrageous contract for the production that he put out.
And 30 years old, right?
Is he? Yeah, he's about 30 years old. So, that they definitely overpaid, and that's former Saints defensive line coach Ryan Nielsen turned Falcons defensive coordinator. So, we'll see how that works out for him. But I think picking up Brzee, drafting Foskey in the second round, I think that was a really good pick. He was projected by a lot of outlets to be a first-round pick. Has actual college production at a major school, Notre Dame's all-time leading sacker. So I'm excited about what they did with the defensive line. They basically transformed the entire position group in one offseason. They managed to get younger and, in my opinion, better. So we'll see how that translates to the field.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I was reminded actually about the potential of rookie production on the defensive line. It's often said that it's one of the hardest positions to break through on as a rookie. So when I was kind of wasting time the other day, they were replaying the Packers-Lions last game. And the only reason I watched it was because I just wanted to see all the Jamal Williams snaps. And that game was fantastic for Jamal Williams snaps. But one thing that stood out to me is they showed Aiden Hutchinson's sack total for his rookie season that year. And this was he had 9.5 sacks heading into that game, which at first I thought it was a typo for a rookie. I mean, I know Aiden Hutchinson was, was he the number one? I just can't remember. Was he number one?
Two.
I mean, yeah. I mean, he was right up there at the top. And obviously Brzee isn't that. But like we talked about with Roman, and I'm going to give you a shout out to your pronunciation of Brzee, which I hope everyone takes to heart, thanks to Roman. But
Yeah, and let me say, Roman made a good point on that episode about Brzee he was the number 1 recruit in the nation coming out of high school. This is one of those can't-miss 5-star recruits, gets to Clemson, and immediately after his freshman year, his head coach basically says this was the best player on the team as a freshman.
He was
and
all
that is a team
right?
that had future first pick in the draft, Trevor Lawrence, future first-round running back, Travis Etienne. Like, that team was loaded.
Yeah, that's a huge statement by, it's not like it was some first-year whack job coach. I mean, you've got Dabo Sweeney, who's one of the better coaches in college football, saying it's the best player on our team with all of that talent.
But I think we're being redundant again because we're talking about injury. The big thing with him is injuries. We drafted a guy that, I mean, an ACL is not an insignificant injury. A shoulder injury.
I just don't agree with calling him injury prone. He had an ACL 2 years ago. This past year, what was it, a kidney infection, I think?
Well, and then an infection, right.
There was the change in defensive scheme. But again, I'll counter myself on that. I mean, he's about to change defensive schemes yet again because he's going from college to the pros.
Right.
I think I'm encouraged by reminding myself of what we saw out of some defensive line rookies from last year. The league is ever changing. The style of play is different, and it just. And I think when we say that defensive linemen don't translate to good rookie production, I mean that. I think it's possible that could be old hat, and I hope it is. But
yeah, let me say this: don't expect to see 10 sacks from Brzee this year.
Yeah, not 10. But
I know Hutchinson had a lot of production. He also, I think, had 3 interceptions last year, which is just outrageous for a defensive lineman. But the reality is Hutchinson's a defensive end. Brzee is a defensive tackle. And if you look back on the history of first-round defensive tackles, I think Aaron Donald is the outlier as far as sacks.
Sure.
Well, J.J. Watt was technically a tackle coming up, was he not?
Yeah, but he was a defensive end for his rookie year. So I think the biggest thing is, Brzee, if Brzee gets 4 sacks this year, that's a win. That's going to be a don't expect and don't be disappointed if he doesn't have double-digit sacks.
All you need Brzee to do is to eat up double teams.
Right. Yeah.
That's what we're hoping.
And you kind of took the words out of my mouth, Max. I was just about to say, I'm not expecting the double digits. But I was going to say I would be thrilled, not just pleased, but thrilled with even half of that or even 3 sacks because, like you said, defensive end, a wide 9 like Hutchinson was a lot. They're just prone for production, especially with the division and the schedule the Lions had last year. But, with a defensive tackle like Brzee, if he's got 3 sacks, let's say, for example, that's really just kind of a outcropping of a lot of other stuff that's happening under the surface that the average fan isn't seeing, that he's being graded out on by his coaches or the true real game impact that he's having that could not possibly show up in the stat book. So I guess I'm encouraged by what could be.
The biggest thing he can do is free up the other players on our defense.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's his biggest role.
Damn it, Nick, did you make me agree with you? Shit.
Oh man, we're in trouble. And
You're
let's not look at the Foskey pick at anything other than Peyton Turner, get your head out of your ass.
Yeah.
That's what that pick is. Is we committed a high draft capital because you've disappointed us.
Yeah. And I'm going to tagline, piggyback, whatever the fucking term is on that. The point of that was recently brought up by friends of our pod, Saints Twitter podcast with Adam and Ryan. They brought up the exact same point, bringing in Foskey with Peyton Turner there, with Peyton Turner, by all accounts, being primed to do what he was drafted to do. And they brought up a good point, and I agree with them on this. If Peyton Turner sits there and allows Foskey to just jump ahead of him, considering everything that Peyton Turner has in front of him, if Peyton Turner has a productive year this year, Foskey will literally be taking money off of Peyton Turner's plate. Because if Peyton Turner plays to the level that he was drafted to play, and if he plays to that level as whatever he's going to be this year, 4th? Is he at 4 years already?
No,
it's just
third year.
Point is, Peyton Turner, if he plays to his potential, has an opportunity to have a massive second contract. And if he doesn't this year, that will more than likely only be because, besides his own underachievement, Foskey jumping ahead of him and taking those snaps away and thereby taking money off of his table. I mean, I think it's a good point.
He had more sacks than Marcus Davenport last year, though.
Well, I
Peyton
think
Turner playing 1/10 of the snaps probably.
I mean,
still had more sacks.
There was a lot of funny
one good game.
There's a lot of funny memes out there about how many people could have had more sacks than Davenport last year. Or,
Corey had more sacks than Davenport
for a certain number of games, of course, or at least equal. But yeah, I mean, I think there's
but that's what that is, right? It's pushing him, and what you hope is they both come along because Cam's 34 this year.
Yeah.
So you hope you have
Yeah.
a first-year guy and a third-year guy that are making the leap as Cam is finishing out his last 2 or 3 seasons, and it works out great. That's what you're hoping.
And there couldn't be any more love for Cam. I mean, like, he has done more than you could have ever asked for any Saints starter, any Saints defensive player, any Saints defensive end. Good Lord. I mean, so, like, but the point is, I mean, let the man go out on top. And the way you do that is by giving him reinforcements, taking a little bit of a load off his back so that man can shine at the end of his career, kind of like we saw with, Michael Strahan,
Well,
Reggie
that's what he was
White,
asking
those
for,
guys.
right?
So, like,
He's been asking for it, and he got
Cam
it.
was asking for defensive tackle and help on the D-line, and they listened, so let's see. I would love for him to be able to reduce Cam's snap count this year to keep him fresh all year and let him do what he does. He's never been able to do that. He plays every goddamn snap. The guy's a beast.
it's unbelievable how little time that man has missed. It's unbelievable.
He's unreal. One COVID game, right?
Yeah.
Is that his whole career? One COVID
Yeah.
game? He's
Literally one.
You know what?
which he
though?
would have played if they'd have let him. So
Side note to this: Cam Jordan is he's easily one of my favorite 5 Saints players.
I was going
ever.
to say he's probably a top 5 Saint.
He's a top 5 Saints player in my opinion. He's a stud, man. Awesome guy too.
We
Awesome
mentioned it in a previous episode. He's the one that's challenging Ricky as the best Saints defensive player of all time.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're going top 5, you get Breeze, Ricky, and then the list goes on from there.
It gets tough. Willie, do you put Morton in there? Hall of Fame kicker. Willie
I thought you
Rowe
hated,
for
wait,
sure.
I
is in
thought you
there.
hated kickers.
I hate him, but he's a Hall of Famer. There's only like 2 of those.
Yeah. Well, we could get sidetracked on the Saints top 5 all time, but
We'll jump into that at some point in between the OTAs and training camp. I
Yeah.
think that would be a good topic for a show.
yeah, it's May, and which means we have plenty of time to.
We got rookie camp this weekend, so after that, we're gonna have a little gap.
Well, schedule. We're recording this May 10th. Schedule release is tomorrow. We already got a couple of them released today, so we're not gonna get into the schedule, but I mean, like, the schedule release is gonna be a big deal too.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about it.
So I
Maybe.
think that pretty much covers we're optimistic about the defensive line, but cautiously optimistic because we're relying on Peyton Turner and 2 rookies to change, and 2 free agent signings as
Yeah,
well.
I think that the free agent signings, it was problematic when you're expecting Shepard and Saunders to transform the defensive line and be the workhorses. But when they are complementary pieces to a Brzee and a Foskey and a Cam Jordan and everybody, at that point, it's a much better signing, in my opinion.
You feel like you have 6 guys on the D-line that could take significant snaps now.
Yeah, and look, Granderson's a beast, man.
Yeah.
Granderson is he always produces.
100%.
He's for a late round pick. I mean, he's been a monster.
Passanel's coming back.
Yeah, that's another one. That's an underrated. He's an underrated player. He's a rock solid, 4th.
He played great
defensive end.
last year. I
Yeah.
mean, he did. He played great.
I think when you look at the defensive line, it's kind of like what Nick and I were yelling at each other about last episode, where you want that rotation. You want to be sending in groups of guys
Yeah.
situationally. And I think
we have that now.
yeah, you couldn't say before the draft or even before free agency, definitely not before free agency, that we had any possibility of just lining up 4 dudes and hoping, that the 5th and 6th guy can fill in. If
Well,
one
look,
of them gets hurt.
it was a worrisome outlook. Right after
Tackle
free
was,
agency
for
started.
sure.
Tackle was lean, man. When you lose Onyemata,
Yeah,
And we
and then
signed Roach
Davenport
back, right?
leaves, like defensive line looked rough for a hot minute.
Very
And
rough,
They managed
very
to
rough.
recover, and they pulled it together, and now the room is very promising. Even Saunders and Shepard, those guys aren't old.
No.
Like, they're younger guys. They're younger than Onyemata, and to me, they were both just as good as Onyemata was last year. So it's if nothing else, you got a little bit younger.
Yeah, and I think the good thing and the thing to be emphasized is the fact that, like, with Shepard and Saunders, we're not relying on them to be, a 3-down start. Like, I mean, we talked about what a starter is last episode, but they can be supplemented and, like, they can be
They're support pieces. They're not. They're not
they
the primary.
They don't
guys.
have to be the guys,
Right.
And that's fantastic for the outlook. Now, again, goes back to Nick's favorite phrase: they got to stay healthy.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's the reality. But let's move on to linebacker. What are your thoughts on linebacker, Nick?
As we've brought up many times on this podcast, I'm a massive DeMario fan. We even got into it with Roman a little bit on Vilma versus DeMario and all of that talk. I just think DeMario, for what he does, is still an elite level linebacker in the league. He's old. We know that, but it doesn't show out there. He's unbelievable. I'm a massive Pete Warner fan, so I think linebacker's in great shape.
Yeah, I agree, man. DeMario is a top 5 Saints free agent signing ever. I mean, honestly, he's probably
Second,
top
probably.
2. He's after Breeze. You know, he's been amazing. I can't imagine if he would have played his entire career here, you know, in this defense. You'd be talking about him as a pretty much slam dunk Hall of Famer with the level of production he's had since he's gotten here.
And he's still borderline Hall
He's
of Fame.
borderline, and it's. I just wish he could have been here, you know, in his mid-20s. You know what I mean? Because we've seen what he's done in his early 30s, and he's been nothing short of just remarkable. And I just wish we could have seen that production, you know, the early part of his career here.
The one thing I wish in his career here is that he would have got more snaps rushing the passer.
Yeah.
Because I think he is elite at that and doesn't get as many opportunities in our defense with Dennis Allen as maybe he should get.
Agreed.
The guy is excellent at that and doesn't get enough chances.
I think DeMario in a Greg Williams defense would have been.
Oh my God!
It would have been like just
Well,
rated
here's the
NC
thing.
17.
If you just unleashed him and let him,
because there's guys like I think we've talked about it in a couple of other episodes, and we talked about it with past Saints, you know, like a Sammy Knight, even Roman, not him on the episode, but like Roman in general. I mean, obviously the old guys, Ricky Jackson, the whole Dome Patrol. There are guys who just, you know, have a nose for the ball, and then there's pass rushers that have a nose for the QB, and it just shows when you watch them, even as a casual observer or fan. And DeMario is one of those guys, and so it's like put him. It'd be nice to see him be put in that position with greater frequency.
Well, I think Rome touched on it in the or a couple episodes ago when he talked about how DeMario, you know, he saw him more as a weak side linebacker. You know, in the whole debate about Vilma versus DeMario.
True.
And honestly, there's no wrong answer. You know, those are two of. I mean, Jesus, our linebacking history is so rich. You know, that would make an amazing episode talking about the 4 best linebackers you could put together.
and I agree with him to a certain extent that his skill set is most suited for that. But the dude has been playing outside of that position his whole career and making all pro.
Yeah.
So let's just show like that shows how versatile.
Well, he was outside linebacker. I feel like for the first 2 years.
first 2 years.
Yeah.
But he can play anywhere.
No,
he's so
look,
good.
he's amazing.
So
He's
good.
amazing, man. You know, you and I mean, we have a mutual love for DeMario and what he's done for the team, and you know, honestly, the leadership thing as well. You know, he's a stand-up individual. You know, a great guy in the locker room, and that does matter. You know, and JV was the same way. You know, and look, there's no wrong answer between the two of them.
No, I just think my point on those two, and I get it. Roman was teammates with Vilma, and you have to go with your teammate above all. You know,
They also won a Super Bowl.
he did, but DeMario's longevity is far superior to Jonathan's with the Saints. It's not really even close as far as that goes. As far as when they played, how dominant they were, both dominant. Vilma never made an All-Pro. DeMario's made multiple. You know, we're splitting hairs, but for me, DeMario as a Saint only has a more impressive resume than Vilma, even though Vilma has the Super Bowl. Like,
Yeah.
what DeMario's done's been incredible.
It's odd considering, you know, the legend that will always be Saints middle linebacker John Vilma. It's odd to say that.
Well, hold on one second, and I apologize for
DeMario-
interrupting you here, but we're forgetting the field mouse.
I love him.
Oh no, I'm not saying that. No, I'm not ranking Vilma.
We're
as
just
the-
comparing these two.
the best. I'm saying it's odd when you think of Vilma versus DeMario. It seems unnatural to say that DeMario has a greater impact overall than Vilma. Even though
I don't know about that.
Well-
if we're going season to season, Vilma, when he was here, was the definitive leader of the team. Everyone respected Vilma. We all love Vilma.
Yeah.
We're not saying anything negative. I'm just saying what DeMario's done over a longer span of time is hard to match. There might be one other guy in Saints history that have done it. Sam Mills, his run. It's just, if we're talking middle linebacker, there's 3 in Saints history we have to talk about.
Yeah.
Right? They're all incredible. You're trying to split hairs. I'm just saying what DeMario has done. I don't think Sam Mills was a 3-time All-Pro. We know John wasn't, even though John was incredible. Was he 3-time All-Pro with us?
I'm just saying it's worth looking up for Sam Mills.
No, I'm looking it
maybe
up.
not. He had to have an All-Pro year with Carolina.
He's one of my favorite players of all time. I love Sam Mills.
He was one-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro.
That makes sense.
Okay.
91, 92, 96.
I mean, he should have been like
96 was Panthers.
Panthers, right.
Yeah,
okay.
so
with
2
us,
times here.
2-time with us. So DeMario has the most decorated Saints career by that measure. That's only one measure. John's the only one to have a Super Bowl. Sam Mills was part of, in my opinion, the most iconic defenses the New Orleans have
I
had.
mean, they all have great things going for them. It's kind of like the like you black out the names and say this guy has this resume, this guy, like which one would you choose?
100%.
So one more. Do you have something else?
One more thing I was going to say is, let's not forget when we signed DeMario, we were not a good defense. And we became a very good defense.
Nick,
That's a good point.
Stop making me agree with you on this episode. What the fuck?
This is the polar opposite of the last episode.
Yeah, what are we?
Nick is making good points this time.
I promise we did not go to therapy after last episode. We're just rolling. Well, I will say this. So before we renamed the podcast Vilma versus DeMario, what other linebackers on the team?
We can love them both.
Look,
And
I
we do.
love
Look,
the shit out of them.
No one's
it's a
arguing
joke.
that.
Come on. But seriously, if we talk about him again, we might.
Well, let's talk about Pete Werner.
So that Werner. I mean,
That's Nick's guy, man. Let's let Nick. Let's give Nick the ball. We're gonna clear out. Let him cook. What you got?
all right.
That's my guy this year, for sure.
Why?
He's one of the best linebackers the Saints have had in coverage that I've ever seen.
Sure.
It's just instinctual. You watch him. There was an interception this year that he tipped to Tyrann Mathieu that was unbelievable because he was basically beat on the play.
Yeah.
He knew when he was beat and when the ball would come out from the quarterback and just reached his arm out where the ball would go. I don't know if y'all remember this play.
Do you remember what game?
Deflected it.
Who we were playing?
Went up in the air. I mean, we only got a turnover in like 3 games. So we could sit it down.
Pretty easy to cross-reference. That's a damn good point.
When did the Saints have a turnover?
Yeah.
It was such an unbelievable play, because it was in a situation he should have been beat, and he turned it into us turning the ball over by himself.
Sure.
He's obviously sideline to sideline. His ability there, his ability against the runs off the charts. Everything he does is great. Now, once again, we're talking about health. So he gets nicked up. Maybe he's a little undersized. Maybe that's contributing to him getting nicked up in both years.
Could be.
If he's on the field the whole time, I just think he's a Pro Bowl caliber player. I really do. I think he is poised this year to be that Saints player on defense to make the jump.
Well, it's funny because he's only, I think he's 23 going on 24.
Yeah.
And, he, according to this, 6'3", 242 pounds.
He's 6'3".
Okay, so
That's
that's not
good size
undersized.
for a linebacker. But I think it's a testament to him. Saints Twitter as a whole, wrote his ass off the second he was drafted by the Saints. Like nobody respected that pick, man. And anyone saying otherwise is lying through their teeth.
Or they didn't
it's
research
just funny.
it.
People didn't realize it. Like, look, this guy was good at Ohio State, and he got to the NFL. And when he's healthy and when he plays, he's been fantastic.
He was drafted when Peyton was still our coach, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think
sure.
my take on a lot of the write-offs on Werner.
This is only his 3rd year coming up.
Third year, yeah.
Right.
Peyton
That's
Turner
why I
year.
asked it.
He was the
because-
2nd round pick to Peyton Turner.
Because that's
We
why
nailed her second
That's
round
why I was
pick,
making
man.
sure that my memory served me correctly, because the write-offs on Werner, I think, were less of an indictment on him as the player and his college career, and more so on our
ability to develop
horrific
linebackers.
track record of defensive draft picks under Peyton, when Peyton just says, "I don't care what you say, Jeff Ireland. I see my guy," and it's.
Well, I think it's more the history of linebackers.
It's also the history of
Yeah,
the first round.
What do you mean? You
We've
didn't,
picked
you,
up-
Because
You didn't,
we did
you didn't
not,
like.
we have not done well drafting linebackers.
What are you talking about? Stephon Anthony was amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
First
we have
round.
not done well
First
with
round.
linebackers.
Jesus.
It's all first round. Second round has been great. Marcus Williams was great to us. Von Bell was great to us.
Gardner
Are
Johnson.
we just talking
and- yeah.
Gardner Johnson,
Alante
Hendrickson,
Taylor.
Alante Taylor? We've killed it in the later rounds.
Look, this is why I say Foskey is going to be an animal. Because
He
whoever
probably
we
will
pick
be.
in the second round is a fucking animal.
What I like about Foskey is that, I mean, not to sidetrack it, I'll say as a tangent.
Why are we not
aside-
trading back? That's the only question. We keep
Well, hey,
trading up.
I re-listened
I-
back to
look.
our pre-draft episode, and we did exactly what Nick. Not only did we do exactly what Nick said we should have done, but 2 out of the 3 guys in our cloud were there, and they all 3 would have been in. That being Gibbs, Mayer, and Nolan Smith. All 3 would have been there if the lines weren't complete idiots. Max disagrees with that point, but let me get back to the Foskey pick, and it just like kind of showed a little bit of a different approach, and then you take that back to Warner, and the biggest red flag with Warner wasn't him. I think it was who was drafting him, like who was calling the shots, and then who we drafted before, and all the bad linebackers we drafted before.
I don't think it was who. I think it's more of how. Okay, let me be more specific. It was how we have developed linebackers, period.
Okay.
Any linebacker we have picked in the past 10 years, other than Warner, has not done shit. They have not developed.
But let's also say, was that not a massive position of need that year?
It's been a position. of
Right,
need. Yeah,
it was.
yeah.
So the
Thank
negativity,
God we got DeMario.
the negativity around it was weird because you waited to
It
the
was
second
weird,
round.
yeah.
Yeah.
You waited. You didn't jump early in the first. You didn't go up. You didn't do anything. You sat there in the second round. You got a player that everyone said was a super intelligent player, could diagnose offense incredibly well. Big school, college production, checked a ton of boxes.
Saints farm team,
Right,
Ohio State.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And honestly, one of your childhood favorite teams.
Joey G, baby. But the hate on that pick was very strange.
It was strange, man. It really was.
Yeah,
We
'cause when you-
needed linebacker.
Yeah.
He was a well accomplished college player. The measurables were good. Obviously a smart player, and
Yeah.
everyone hated it. It didn't
Yeah.
make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was a small difference, but I mean, I feel like there was far less hate, even though there was hate, but far less hate on the Zach Bond pick. Like,
Well, that's later a little bit.
it was later, but I mean,
Third round, not much later.
but still
Not
third
much.
round on I don't know, like.
I think
but when you watch the
90% of Saints fans in the third round.
Yeah, maybe that's just us. But when y'all right. When you watch the tape on Warner when he was drafted, it was like, sure, like he's not one of your household name linebackers. He's not like, he doesn't look like DeMario just like pummeling down upon the quarterback and burning everything in his wake. He just has a different style of play, and we talked about a complementary style of play earlier, not on the pod, but we've talked about that in the past amongst ourselves. It's great. I mean, we generally only roll out 2 true linebackers,
But I think they're
and
pretty,
they complement each other.
right,
I mean,
and they're
yeah.
pretty similar now in the way they play. They're downhill, they're sideline to sideline. They both can go in coverage, so you can change up your defensive calls to put either one in coverage.
Maybe this DeMario's. I think Warner's definitely got a step on DeMario, but
Speed wise, yeah, but
I don't
dude,
know, man.
DeMario gets out there, man.
I think that's more of like his experience. Like he knows where to be.
Man, you
I just
say that.
feel like
He's
Warner.
explosive, dude.
but that dude still depletes people, and it's
He is
crazy.
explosive.
Oh yeah, no, DeMario. I wouldn't want anybody else besides him in a box. Like if it's an Oklahoma drill on the field or a 5-yard like situation, yeah, give me DeMario over anybody else, possibly in the league at that position. But I think in terms of speed, if you need somebody to beat a guy on an angle of
I've
15
taken DeMario in
yards.
a race.
I'm just saying
It's close, bud.
I think they've become very similar players in that you can interchange them.
Yeah,
in,
it's
in a
interesting.
defensive scheme where you can be like, hey, they don't know who's running out on the running back.
Yeah, yeah.
We can use DeMario, we can use Pete, we can do whatever we want. It's just versatility
Yeah,
back there,
sure.
which is great.
So
Well, let me say this though, like the guys who cover the Saints for a living, and I've seen this topic of conversation come up multiple times, where it's which Saints player would you least like to be hit by?
DeMario.
It
It's
is
DeMario.
unanimous.
Yeah.
DeMario every single time, and they all cite a combination of size, explosiveness, and just general, just like want to knock the fuck out
That's
of
just
you.
physics.
If you don't believe that, just go on YouTube and type that in and watch his highlight
Go,
hit reel.
like-
You will die.
Well, listen, I know I'm wearing my Jesuit football T-shirt and everything, and
Foster Moreau, you don't
now
wanna
on
get
team.
hit by.
But I will say, there was a dad back when I played fullback at Jesuit High School. Now, look, I didn't have a college career. You know, I got recruited by a fraternity, not a football team in college. But
Boy, by the end of the season,
But I
we're
did
gonna be
learn
able
one
to
thing.
Splice all these.
I
clips
did learn
together.
I did learn one thing, and it goes back to that DeMario hit thing. Force equals mass times acceleration.
All right, so,
So
DeMario wins is all I know.
So like the biggest, fastest, most guy with the most acceleration, which DeMario bigger than Warner, accelerates in a box better than Warner. Warner's maybe got like faster 20-yard range. Like, yeah, that
Corey,
totally checks
I-
out. Like,
I-
you don't want to go up against the bigger, faster dude.
I love how Al Bundy over here, like incorporates.
It's more like Uncle Rico, if I had to label myself.
Polk High, 4 touchdowns in one game.
Come on, man, we gotta
just don't
give the
know-
listeners a little bit of background here, man. It's all
I
important.
mean, I'm sure they're all enthralled right now.
but I
DeMario
couldn't see
still
anything
gets
else.
anywhere he wants on the field. Is how
I agree.
feel.
It-
Is
to
how I
me,
feel.
yeah.
Maybe I could be proven wrong, but maybe I just like him too much. But
They
the
both
guy
do.
is,
The question is like, who does it better? DeMario's definitely better
DeMario.
downhill. DeMario's better
even close
downhill,
right now.
100%. I question whether because linebackers play both ways, so I question whether DeMario is as good going back on the angle in pursuit as Warner. Look, Warner's damn good in that area. Now,
look-
DeMario's definitely better pummeling down into the quarterback going into the
But
box.
DeMario's also done a great job at what you're talking about. Now the question is, we're talking his 34-year-old year,
He's
35-year-old
34
year.
this year, I believe.
Yeah.
Does that take a dip? Well, the good news is you've got Pete to do that role, and DeMario can get more up the field. I think we've got another great year out of DeMario this year, is what I'm saying. Can he be all pro again like he was last year? He was second team last year. Can he do that again? If he did, I don't know if that's ever been done at the linebacker position at that age. Even Ray Lewis was younger than that when he was last All Pro, I believe. If he can do anything close to that,
Sure.
I just think linebacker's set for us. We're just in great shape. And then, we've
Now-
got Zach Bond as behind them.
I mean, if he cranks
That
out another
will-
All Pro, that's 5 straight years. That's insane.
Right.
So-
It's not been done a lot.
so
But Zach
Nick-
Bond as a third not playing linebacker is not a terrible. He's been in the system. He knows what we do. Is he great? No.
Not even
Or
close.
hasn't been. But he's
Well, neither
been
was
here.
Caden Ellis until this year.
I haven't seen
Correct.
shit.
And
from
that was my
Zach
point. I was
Bond,
getting ready
man.
to bring up Caden Ellis.
Yeah.
This year, all of a sudden, Caden Ellis was
Whoa.
Here's the deal. Everybody in March freaked out when Caden Ellis signed with the Falcons. And look, it's a loss. It's a big loss. But the reality is, like, no one knew who the fuck Caden Ellis was. I hear other podcasts telling us, like, Caden Ellis was undrafted. No, he wasn't. He was a draft pick.
Yeah.
But my point is, people don't know. No one remembers when Caden Ellis was drafted.
I will say this: the loss of Caden Ellis was a depth loss.
Yeah.
It wasn't a starter loss, and people need to understand that $7 million you can't a year. I think that's what he got. Is that what it was?
Yeah, and who are you going to take off the field for?
Right. So he's not going to play. You can't pay a third linebacker that's not on the field $7 million a year.
Agree.
I
It was the
agree.
right move.
I agree that you're not going to pay Caden Ellis. So that's why I wasn't like freaking out over that loss. But I think the elephant in the room is like Zach Bond got drafted higher than Ellis and was recruited
Not much.
as a better. Why didn't he beat out Ellis? And so it's a good segue into
They're different players.
without getting too deep into the linebackers before we move on to a different kind of area. But obviously DeMario and Warner are great. We mostly roll out 2 linebackers, but Nick brought up what I see in disagreement with him. Thank God we're back to disagreeing. But it's a cliff. I mean, it's a complete cliff. It's a complete drop from Warner, DeMario to Bond. That there's holy crap. There's it's a free fall in talent and in production and
pause
quality.
real quick.
Who else is there after those 2?
You would have said the same thing last year with Caden being that third line.
Correct. Agreed.
No, because Caden beat out Bond.
No, he
Yeah,
didn't.
last year coming into last year, marginal.
No, he
They were
didn't beat
both
him
on the
out.
team last year. Caden played, Bond didn't.
No, here's the thing.
Understood.
Bond is your starter at strong side linebacker.
Correct.
Caden did not beat out Bond.
But do we
They're
feel
separate.
Time out. Pete Werner got hurt.
Right.
Caden Ellis slid into the weak
His
side
spot.
linebacker spot
Correct.
because Caden Ellis, to his credit, plays all 3 linebacker spots.
Right.
Zach Bond does not.
Plays strong side linebacker.
That's what I'm saying. They're different
So-
players.
He's a different
you can't,
player.
You can't say the same thing.
I'm waiting to be convinced as to why I should feel good about a guy who you just called a starter being someone who got beat out by someone who can play all the linebacker positions.
Again, he didn't get beat out by this guy.
He's a strong side.
Which one played, which one didn't?
He's a strong side.
Do we need to explain to you the difference between strong side
You
and weak
played
side?
football.
Well, no, you just said
You
that.
played football, right? Come on, Al
Yes,
Bundy.
but the Saints roll in different formations. So, like, if the point is if Bond was better than Ellis,
Here's,
he
the,
would have
here's the
played.
deal. Ellis
he
is a
would've
more
played.
versatile linebacker than Bond.
Right,
Bond
which is-
basically is a one-trick pony, and
My
that
point
he
is-
should be. No, hold on. He should be a pass rusher.
Correct.
Because he was a defensive end coming out of Wisconsin. He was an undersized defensive end. The Saints selected him and then promptly decided to move him to off-ball linebacker.
I think the. Right.
Just to
I
reiterate,
I agree with what you're saying.
he did not get beat out by Caden Ellis last year.
Okay.
Two
Fair,
different positions.
okay, fair enough.
Caden Ellis was the backup
But
for
the-
Pete Warner.
but the
There you
fact-
go.
But then Pete Warren got injured.
and that's
and
why
the
Caden
backup
Ellis
came
came
in.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I thought you said Bond. That's my fault. I thought you said Bond. The whole point of the fact that we've even discussed it this much at length is that you can see why I don't feel all warm and fuzzy about what's happening behind
But to Nick's
Warner
point,
and DeMario.
To Nick's point, you wouldn't have felt warm and fuzzy last year if we would have said
wouldn't.
Warner
I
was going to
mean,
get hurt.
I liked Caden.
No, you
I was
didn't.
one. Of,
No,
no,
you fucking did not.
No, you didn't.
You
Nobody
fucking
did.
liar. You did
Nobody
not.
liked him.
Nobody
He sucked.
did.
I didn't think he was going to be.
Caden Ellis' own dad, Luther Ellis, who Nick and I had his football cards, as, as a
Well, look,
rookie.
I'm not Caden
he
Ellis'
He
dad.
wasn't confident in it.
I remember when Caden Ellis got drafted. I was actually kind of pissed when he got hurt. I mean, you want to tell me what's
Corey.
inside my own
You're a
head?
fucking liar. What college did he go to?
North was it
Yeah.
Wyoming?
Yeah.
Northwest Iowa?
Wyoming.
I don't know.
Ireland? Did I get
No, I
Okay,
didn't say
there you
that.
go.
Iowa.
Caden Ellis, #1 fan.
I remember when we drafted him, I liked the pick, and then I remember when he
You
got
liked
hurt
the pick. Okay, why did you like the pick?
because he seemed to be a good
because his
quality.
dad played football?
I didn't even know who his dad was. No, I'm serious. I mean, I remember when
His
we
dad
picked
was a
him.
first round pick.
He
That
had
was
good.
amazing.
He had good upside for the late round. Was 6th round
This is
Seventh?
awesome, Corey.
Why
Keep
do you have
going.
a good upside?
from watching his tape and
You
looking.
didn't
at
watch
his
his
tables.
tape. How much tape did you
How
watch?
much tape did you watch?
But when I say tape, I mean the highlight reels.
The
shit-
ones that they showed on WWL after he got drafted.
Well, not like I mean ESPN or
Uh-huh.
OTAs,
Okay.
whatever.
Okay, so what in his first 3 years with the Saints had you convinced we had a dude?
Oh no, I'm not. Again, I said I liked him. I never said.
But you
I
were
thought we
confident
had
last year going into the season because Caden Ellis was riding the pine, ready to swoop in and save the day.
I felt good about him as a depth piece.
Did
Better
you?
than I did with Bond.
But why? That's what we want to know.
Right. Why
just
did you
because-
like
I mean, like,
him?
why
What
do-
did you see in the 3 years prior that led you to believe this guy would
liked-
step in and do what he did?
I liked his size. I thought he was disciplined as a defender, and he had decent speed and ability. He didn't miss many tackles. I mean, watching him in preseason, and
Corey, you're losing it right now.
Boy, this is good. This is good. Keep going.
you're
keep going.
asking me what I observed. This is what I observed.
Yeah.
how
Tell
much
me
did
more.
he
Tell
play?
me
Are
more.
y'all, do y'all just feel bad that y'all didn't watch Caden Ellis, and so y'all were one of the few that were
We
surprised?
did
at the-
watch
were
Caden
one of the
Ellis, and
few-
we did not feel the same way.
Nick, we were one of the few. We were two of the few that were surprised, by the way, of his production.
How many sacks did he have last year? 7, right?
Yeah.
He has 8 in his career. What did you see? That's all I'm saying. There's not a book of watching Caden Ellis.
I didn't say I liked him as DeMario or I liked him as a starter.
No. I'm
No,
saying
no, you-
I
you
liked
felt
him
comfortable.
as a depth piece.
1 sack in
But
3
what
years.
led you-
What led you to say that? That's what we're asking. Not that he's DeMario. Not that
Right.
he's going to be a Pro Bowl. What did you see in his
I mean, it's
first
the same
few years?
shit.
What
when-
differentiated him between Zach Bond
Right.
going into this?
That's
year?
all we're asking.
That's all we're asking.
No, okay, honestly, and without
Tell the
y'all saying like, oh, okay. No, the guy played with more fucking effort and heart than Zach fucking Bond.
Wow.
When you watched him in preseason, when you watched him in camp, which I did, he played like he gave a shit.
So
And
you know,
I didn't see
Bond-
that out of Bond.
You know, Bond was lights out in the preseason, like a year ago. That's where
Everyone
the whole
thought we had
hashtag
something.
bonfire thing
Everyone
came
thought we
from.
had something with Bond.
Yeah, we all did because Bond was lights out in the preseason. Ellis never showed up in the preseason. But tell us more.
Send me the link of the tape.
So,
you
yeah, I want to
watched.
see this.
I want to see it. I just think he came out of nowhere this year. That's my opinion.
Well, the
I
7
did not
sacks
watch
is out of
him.
nowhere.
I
The
didn't watch
production.
I didn't either. And look,
No.
none of us did. No one did. Everyone was caught
Right.
completely off
So the guy
guard.
that actually remembered who he was from the preseason and the draft gets shit for actually watching him.
Okay.
But that's
But that's
fine.
revisionist history. I don't think
That
you
is
actually
absolutely
remember.
Corey,
The
you can fertilize concrete with that statement.
Tell yourself what you got to tell yourself. But no, the 7 sacks out of the blue. Yeah, absolutely. No one. I didn't.
All I'm going to say is coming into last year, there was nothing on tape in actual gameplay that would lead someone to that thought. He was very much an unknown. He was an unknown.
Forgive me for being too plugged into our fucking team during the draft
you're
in the
not that
preseason.
good
I mean,
at it, dude.
if it's on WWL, who gives a shit?
A sack in 3 seasons.
If you go to a training camp, you see the guy in person.
You have not seen him or observed him
Okay.
do anything
So
that led you to believe
you know
this dude would
what I've
fill in the way
seen.
he
You know
did.
what I've done.
I know you're full of shit if you say otherwise.
Corey, I'm going to be honest with you. If you watched every play he played in the Saints preseason,
still
I
wouldn't say
still
this.
don't think you could definitively say that guy was going to be a player.
No one did.
Again, I said I liked him as a depth piece, not as a 7 sack dude. I
We're
didn't. No
asking
one
why.
saw that
Like,
coming.
What led you to believe this?
Okay, let's
passed the eye
pivot.
test
Let's
for me.
pivot. Why is Bond not a depth piece?
There we go.
Since we're being negative on Bond right now because we don't have.
I think the thing
Ellis
I don't like.
He doesn't play with the fire and passion that Kaden Ellis did in the preseason.
I'm sorry, is that like everyone talks about how fiery and passionate
He dominated
Mario
the
is? So
preseason,
like,
did he not?
is fire
He
and
did.
passion not a? Is
That's the thing. Vaughn dominated, so that tells me you haven't watched the preseason very closely.
No, I mean I've watched the fucking preseason. I'm just saying that like, I just think that Bond is underachieved. I don't like. That's what I don't like.
In the
about him.
regular season, he has underachieved, as did Ellis in the regular season.
Until an opportunity popped
the
up.
opportunity popped up last year.
Call it what you will.
All I'm going to say is
I think the more pressing question. Okay, we've talked about 3 actual linebackers on our current roster.
that's about it. I'm going to be honest with you.
Who's behind? But is that not concerning to you all?
No, it is concerning, but the reality is we basically play 2 linebackers.
And we got safeties that can play down there, kind of. So, like, I'm not super worried about that.
If Warner and Davis stay healthy, I'm not worried. I don't care.
I mean,
if they stay
there's
healthy.
Sewell who
Davis is an Iron Man, so it's a matter of Warner stays healthy.
I mean, I'd almost rather see Marcus May down there than in the second.
Yeah, Sewell's an undersized guy. He's his brother Panay Sewell and his younger brother Noah Sewell, both in the NFL now. He I guess is the runt of the litter. He's a small undersized one. Was a really good player at Utah, combo linebacker safety. DeMarco Jackson was I think 5th round draft pick last year.
Yeah.
Was hurt all last year, so we'll see. He's got.
Wait, you mean you remember him being drafted?
Corey, I know
Bullshit.
more-
There's
Corey,
no way you watched
Corey,
DeMarco Jackson being drafted.
Corey, if we're
Holy
gonna,
shit.
Corey, if we're gonna talk draft,
Oh my god.
Corey, if we're gonna talk draft, we can go draft for draft, year for year.
No, I'm
I
just
promise
saying.
you will lose every time.
I'll be honest with you, Corey. I'm
trying
not
to win
super
that.
confident about these guys Max are talking about. I was also not confident about Kaden Ellis making a massive leap
Anyway.
last
But
year.
Corey, don't die on the draft hill. You won't win.
No,
this
I'm
one.
not.
It's
I'm
okay.
not. I never said I was. I'm just.
I think,
Cotton.
yes, it's fair to
Making a
say
point.
linebacker is thin behind what I think is 2 superstars.
But like, if one of them goes down, what do we?
But I think it's pretty fortunate situation to have 2 superstars at linebacker.
Okay, so either Demario.
If they stay healthy, it's not an issue at all. If one of them gets hurt, it could potentially be an issue.
If Demario goes down, you feel good with Bond?
I don't know. No one
don't
can
know.
Yeah,
Do
you
you
just
feel-
don't know.
And I do think you
So
have
do you
to.
feel good not knowing?
I'm going to say this.
but I don't feel any different than I did last year.
And here's the
with
deal.
Caden.
I don't
feel
think
any
Bond goes in if
I don't
if
either.
DeMario
That's
gets
what I was
hurt.
getting ready to say.
I think DeMarco Jackson goes in.
Yes.
So we'll see what we have.
That's what I was getting ready to say. I don't think Bond
So you think
necessarily
Bond
goes in.
replaces Warner?
No.
So where's Bond?
This
fit?
year, I could see Bond. I could see him sliding over to weak
Or
side.
does he just
backup.
remain as like the one guy that goes in whenever we want to play 3 linebackers?
Well, no, he's your strong side linebacker. So when you start 3, he's the guy.
We
But
don't start 3 line. We
I said when they start 3, whenever they play.
We
3,
already talked
he's the
about-
third.
We do run.
start. We talked about what a starter is.
But we do run.
We do run 3
defenses with
linebackers
3
on occasion.
linebackers. Just it's
So
not our.
that was my
primary.
question. Did y'all
Right.
not listen?
Yeah.
So
So
you're
he's on
saying
the field.
he's the guy that goes in whenever we decide to run
When
Yes.
there is
3.
a 3 linebacker set,
He's the
a
third.
weak
If
side,
that's what
a
you're saying.
middle, and a strong side.
Correct.
Bond is going to be your strong side.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's his only role.
Yeah.
Do you think
as
he's
of
the
right
th-
now he is more of a
Do you
strong
think
side
he's the
linebacker.
third best linebacker on the team?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
Interesting.
how good is that? We don't know.
Yeah,
I
no
don't
one's
think
saying
there's
that's a
any way
good
to
thing.
say.
No
I
one's
don't
saying
think
that's a
there's any
great
way to
thing.
say. But
What's his Madden rating? Max.
65 probably.
Bond is 68, I
Oh
believe.
God, that's disgusting.
yeah. But
Well, to be fair, Pete Warner is only like a 73.
Well, that's
which is
low.
yeah. I'm
needs-
just telling you.
No, just letting you know what it is.
Right.
What's DeMarco Jackson's bad rating?
Jackson is a 64 or 65.
So we're going into who
But
regardless.
again, you don't know about DeMarco Jackson. You don't know.
You just don't know. You don't know.
I think it's a good situation to be in with two guys that high level of skill.
Yeah.
So I'm going to call it a plus position group for us. Of course, injuries, as always, especially with the Saints, we know that could change instantly. You're not replacing Pete Warner with Zach Bond or DeMarco or any of these people. They won't replace Pete. You have to manipulate the defense and change the schemes you're running probably. We're going to drop safeties down. We're going to switch it. We're going to run multiple safety sets. We're going to do all those things. We're pretty deep at secondary. So do we go to a base nickel? Do we, what are we going to do?
Kind of already are
Pretty
in
much.
reality a base nickel, but
Pretty much.
my concern is that not having a solid linebacker core just really exposes you.
Well, you do have a solid linebacking core.
I'm talking about depth. If one of them goes down,
No, and that probably is the biggest area of concern on the defense is the depth at
because
linebacker.
then you're just
How
going to
many
get
teams,
well,
real quick,
Hold on. Then
how many
you're just gonna
teams
get,
don't have this issue? Super depth,
Yeah.
I don't.
four
I mean,
great linebackers.
And another thing to look at is
I don't know enough
like
about
we
the
can't
other teams.
We
I
can't
guess the
get
Falcons don't because
on-
they have
hold on.
Kaden Ellis.
That's
now.
right. They got Kaden.
We can't get mad at Bond for not being able to slot into different positions because from
He was drafted as a pass rusher.
and look, the reality is they talked about the Saints tried Pete Warner at middle linebacker last year and it did not work out.
No.
In training camp. So the reality is, look, some guys are going to be your one-trick pony as far as position. You're going to have your unicorn like DeMario who can play weak side, he can play middle, and he can play strong side. Mm-hmm. These other guys aren't that. They're not DeMario. DeMario is the cream of the crop.
And to be fair, Caden was able to do that
Kaden was able to do that. He played all three
at
positions.
a much lower level, but
Yeah.
able to do it, which is a big benefit for a defense where you have a backup who can go into any position is very, very helpful.
Yeah, and the thing with Kaden was in college coming out, he was more of a defensive end outside linebacker hybrid. So obviously you knew this from being the
I
film
just
junkie
don't remember
you were.
the fucking name of the school.
To be
We
fair,
were watching
him
his
and Bond coming out
draft cut up.
were a similar mindset, but their skill set is different.
Yeah, they look completely different on tape.
Yeah, Kaden Ellis was a more well-rounded player than
Right.
Bond coming out. Bond was
But Bond was a
strictly-
better pass rusher.
right.
That's why I said Ellis is a better depth piece. Felt better with him behind the other two guys than Bond, who's a one-trick pony, like you just said.
Okay, the reality is you never knew anything about Kaden Ellis before last year
And you know this for certainty how?
because I talk to you on a daily basis about football. And you
Why would
don't
we
know
talk about
anything
Kaden Ellis until
He
he
just
came in?
pulled because we're friends.
Hey, it's the truth. When you can tell me what college Kaden Ellis went to, I'll start
I
taking
think
your
if I was
opinion.
talk
talking
about
to you on a
something
daily
that, like-
basis about Kaden Ellis, you'd be like, "Stop fucking talking to me."
Can we talk about the secondary, which
yeah, we
is
need
the
to talk-
best
I mean-
unit on the goddamn team?
Well, we can, and I'm not going to talk about Zach Bond or Kaden Ellis again, but I just,
Just tell me what college you went to.
dude, I don't remember the
I
name
respect
of the
your
college.
opinion of him then.
Somewhere in the Pacific Northwest, right?
No,
No,
no.
where was it? I'm blanking on the college.
Idaho.
Idaho.
Yeah. There you go.
Pacific.
That's high on your watch list.
It's
You know
not
that-
Pacific Northwest. Come on.
Over that Rocky Mountain, whatever region.
The Idaho
You're putting
Vandals.
Idaho in the Pacific Northwest?
It's on the way out there.
Well, Nick,
It's towards the Pacific.
That's what I meant,
Northwest.
towards.
We're getting there.
Nick,
I didn't
Nick,
say Oregon or
Nick,
Washington. I
to
would have
Corey's,
said
to
that.
Corey's credit, Idaho is a real big SEC school. They play Georgia
huge.
every week.
It's
So
huge.
he obviously
Oh,
would have
God.
seen them while watching the Georgia Bulldogs play.
To be
Anyway,
fair-
let's move on to the secondary. So, Nick, why don't you lead us off with the apple of your eye, the
The best
shining
corner
part
in
of
the
your
league.
life.
Lattimore's the best corner in the league. Alante and Adebo, if one of them steps up and becomes a clear-cut NFL starter, with the other one being a third with Roby, it's the best cornerback group in the league, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, the question I think is, if one of Adebo or Alante separates himself as like the 1A to Lattimore, do you put the odd man out in the slot?
Do you put what?
Do you put the odd man out in the slot? or do you keep Roby there?
See, it's tougher because
a different
Debo is
position.
more of an outside guy.
Yeah.
He's definitely-
Alante
yeah, he's built
actually
more that
has
way.
traits that translate to a slot.
A slot and Alante, I think, would be a killer
safety.
roaming safety.
Yeah,
Just
I
a
agree with that
killer
completely.
fucking safety.
Yeah, he's just his size is so coveted on the outside.
What do we hope?
If
Here's
he,
what
if
we
he can
hope.
run step for step with these,
I'll do
He'll
it
be
this
either one
way.
of them.
You hope it's Lattimore and a Debo.
Yeah.
You move Alante around. You move Tehran
He's your
around.
chess piece that you can
yes.
move around. Yeah. No, that's a good
guys
point.
who can just be anywhere back there.
Yeah.
Roby in the slot, and then May. You deal with that wherever it goes. Maybe a linebacker gets hurt and he gets a spot.
I got 2 words for you.
don't know.
Smoke Monday.
I can't wait for him to come back. God,
That'll be fun. I mean, we'll
Oh,
see.
man, I love him.
We'll
speaking
see.
of health,
That'll be fun.
I watched him in the preseason, Max. Do you believe that?
I actually believe you watched him because he played in the SEC.
But
I know you
Who
didn't.
has
No,
watch
in
four
the
better corners?
preseason.
That's
Or
my question.
camp,
Who
whatever.
has
He
the
didn't
last
play
time
in the preseason.
So
Who
camp,
is
when he
we're
played in
talking
camp.
about depth. Probably the second most important position on defense to pass rush is corner.
Yeah.
Secondary. Who has 4 better corners than the Saints?
That's a
That's
fair point. No,
that's
a
a
good point.
hard thing to come up with. And I'm not saying there isn't one. I'm just saying it's definitely the top few in the league as a grouping.
It's top 10 in the league without question.
yeah, top 5 probably almost
Probably.
I
guaranteed.
feel good about our corner depth.
It's awesome.
If the corner goes down, I feel good about that.
Marcus May scares me a little bit.
A little bit.
He's a
Used
clear drop
correctly-
off from Williams.
Used correctly and not in that Williams role because man, he I don't know if he has that in him anymore. Even though he played it with the Jets some, I don't know. It didn't look like that.
I don't know if he really ever had the true.
He had that one year with the Jets where they franchised him and he looked like,
And he blew his knee out.
and then he blew his knee out.
Marcus Williams closeout was just insane. I don't know if anybody's really I don't know if there's a comp.
Yeah, nobody
to
had closing
Marcus.
bursts like Williams.
He was
But-
good at getting beat and then fixing it.
So, question is the middle, of our defensive backfield. Does the defensive backfield in the middle does it go as Tyrann Mathieu goes?
Not to me.
His
He goes
ability,
as the corners
ability
go
to
for
pick
me.
up from where he
No,
was
I think
last year.
he's more of a complimentary piece. He's not the guy that
I
makes
think
the
this
show
is
go.
about corner for us.
Yeah.
Locking down those top level receivers with what we have.
Agree.
And letting those safeties just kind of be free. I would love to see Alante and Tehran in there together, to be honest with you. That would be those two with the 3 corners, that formation with that,
Yeah.
5 in the secondary is a scary skilled group.
Yeah, I
it's
agree with
crazy.
Because I got the sense that Tehran wasn't truly like playing like the real Honey Badger last year. Not saying that he can't, but I
Well, he
feel like
wasn't.
he was still picking
Second
up.
half,
He was still
second half looked
right.
a lot better.
Yeah, I think like the first half of the year he was still kind of getting
Well, if you
used
listen
to
to
the
his
adjustment.
interview that he gave the other day with Underhill and Triplett, he was talking about he had some stuff going on.
You mean Brooke?
And no, Triplett.
What are you saying?
He had some things going on in the preseason. I don't think he was fully locked in the whole season. And,
Yeah.
he alluded to it in the interview. And I think this year you'll get a much more keyed in, focused Honey Badger. But
I was his biggest critic, as Max knows, in the first half of the season. Second half of the
was-
season,
yeah, he
he
turned it
looked
on.
like a different player.
I'll tell you
I'm
what,
just gonna say.
he could be
look, he missed a lot of training camp.
be a low key X factor if he can actually.
Well, look, he's also he's 30 plus at this point. He's not the Honey Badger that we all know and love from 5 and 6 years ago. He's still a damn good player, but
a guy with that kind of defense, that kind of football instinct. I mean, if the
I think what Nick said was spot on. If you flank him with Alante and then you have a Debo and Lattimore, like that foursome is pretty imposing and would be pretty awesome to watch.
yeah, no, I don't disagree with that at all. I'm just saying like with
They're not going to do it, but
Matthews'
Not,
experience,
probably not this year, but
his like second. I mean, if this
they value
defense,
Alante as a corner, man. That size, 6'1",
Well-
200 pounds.
well, they
4'4",
also
40.
that gives them.
He's a 4'3" something guy.
It
too. He's
lets them do
fast.
whatever they want with a Debo come next year. So
Yeah.
I'm just saying like
if
just,
they're all good, it's just a really good group. And
yeah, I think we've moved. What I was saying about Matthews is that we've moved into a different style of Honey Badger. Obviously, he's not even close to what we remember on LSU, the early years of his career or stuff like that, or even parts of KC. But like, there's a chance that given his experience, given his just natural football instincts, if he's at a point with this Dennis Allen defense now, where it's just kind of second nature to him as opposed to earlier in the year, if his personal life is in a better spot. Look, I mean, there's a chance that, he's got a
Our best
Sammy
case-
Knight element to him.
Our best case with the Honey Badger at this point is the name that nobody wants to say. It's Darren Sharper. That's your best case scenario at this point.
more
It's
than okay with
corners, the corners are playing well. The rest, the defensive line's getting pressure. The linebackers are covering. Let him just pick off passes. Let him get 7 or 8 interceptions.
be
I just
more
want
than
him to
okay
come
with that.
down lower and work in the slot, work low in field. That's why I would want Alante in the back.
Yeah.
Because if you would play him at true free and let him play that position, Alante's going to be a Pro Bowl free safety.
He's got the tools to do it. Yeah.
He's long, he's fast.
He's mean. He hits.
Like, if they would go to that this year, it would be awesome. Just those two corners with Tehran running free, doing whatever he wants. Like you said, just playmaking. Just sees that crossing tight end, lights him up, undercuts the routes, cutting off slants.
Yeah, let him freelance.
Let him do that, but I don't know if May behind that works.
It doesn't.
But Alante could work.
I mean, Alante, he's arguably as fast as Lattimore.
Yeah.
They both run
ran
mid
4.3,
4.3s, man.
Yeah.
So if you get a 4.3 guy as your last line of defense, that's pretty awesome.
And he's instinctual. Like, you saw it.
He'll
His
hit, man.
mistakes
He'll
this
hit.
year weren't mistakes of ability. They were just
Rookie mistakes.
Right.
Yeah, it's just,
And just watching him get time to play this year was a huge. Like, he was incredible when he got in there.
I just didn't like how they did. It seemed like they didn't want to play him. It's like anytime anyone else would get healthy, they pulled him out and would throw in whoever.
Well, it
else
might
they
just
wanted.
be the rookie mistake thing.
Yeah.
Because there were those.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. But
Yeah.
it wasn't a lack of being able to do it. It was
Oh yeah,
always
no, he has as much ability as anybody.
right.
So
Exactly.
yeah,
So
agree.
Yeah.
if again one of those players we're looking to get a little bit better, if he could ever play that role with us. Now he can probably play corner too. The guy played corner.
can absolutely
and he
play
locked
corner.
down people. So that's a more money position. We all get it, but with a crowded cornerback room,
Well, it's like they say, you can't ever have enough cornerbacks.
Yeah.
It's like the more bodies, the better.
I want them all on the field. That's what I want. I want to see all those dudes on the field.
Yeah. Let me guess. You also want them to all stay healthy, right?
That'd be good.
I want to see Smoke Monday. That's my guy. Man. He was a monster at Auburn.
Yep. All right. So, I think we hit on pretty much every defensive area. The state of the defense is what, Max?
The defense is loaded with potential. We just need the linemen to do what they got to do, free up everybody else. Let Lattimore stay healthy, please God, for Nick's sanity and for the rest of us. Let Lattimore stay healthy. Let us see a full 17-game season out of Lattimore and let him show the rest of the NFL what he can be.
Yeah.
Because the guy, when he is healthy, I agree with Nick on this. When he's healthy, he is a top 3 corner in the league, and he ain't 3 when he's healthy.
And forget about him specifically. The defense changes.
I was about to
when
say,
he's
so
playing. The
20
defense is different.
20 seconds or less, Nick. State of the Saints defense before OTAs.
If healthy, top 5 defense.
Wow. I'm going to go with solid.
I'll say if healthy, if Brzee, Foskey, Shepard, Saunders, all of those guys acclimate themselves to the defense pretty quickly, and the offense isn't turning the ball over and just basically being undependable. I agree with Nick. I think top 5 defense is in the cards if they stay relatively healthy and the offense doesn't just screw them.
Yeah, I think state of the defense is solid. I can't quite commit to a ranking yet because I do still have reservations about linebacker depth, but it's to be seen. But I'd say it's still solid, nonetheless. Still
Corey,
solid.
real quick, before we sign off, last year in yardage, they were the 5th best defense. Do you think, as we sit today, we are better personnel-wise or worse than last year?
Personnel-wise, we're better. But it goes back to and this is the new hashtag floating around, on paper. It's like, that's why I don't want to commit to a number yet, but
Don't be scared, man. Commit. You can look. You can amend
He can
it
pause.
before-
He can wait till later. And
I
we
think,
can see.
no, if there's a number I'm comfortable with, I would say 10. I'm not going to get to 7, 8, but 5 definitely could be. 10, I feel comfortable with that. But overall, it's a solid defense. State of defense is solid.
Question for you. So let's commit to pre-training camp win totals. What do you see? You can change this, obviously, in July and August.
Yeah, it
is
doesn't count until
this is-
after
this
the
is-
last preseason.
We're going to
game.
go on the record with our final answers in August. But now, here in May, pre-training camp, pre-OTAs, pre-rookie minicamp, if you had gun to your head and
are
you
the
had
final
to pick,
are the final answers post preseason or before preseason?
Post
Doesn't
preseason,
matter.
we give our
It's-
predictions.
yeah.
But this is our pre-preseason prediction.
yeah. And obviously this can change, but where do you see this team right now? How many wins? Nick's already said he's leaning towards 11. What do you say?
My numbers have to go with the floor. The floor is 9. Because again,
So you've
We
been
were-
listening to Adam on the Saints.
We're
Twitter
not asking
podcast.
your floor. We're asking your opinion,
Your opinion.
on
What
a
are we
win
winning?
total.
my gut tells me 10.
Okay. Fair.
I think but because of how surprised I was last year,
We
No,
still
it's
got
fine.
8.
Leave it at that. 10.
but my
got
gut,
eight.
my
You're
gut tells me
saying
10.
11.
I'm saying 11. And let's reference what we've all said. Last week we said, everyone in agreement, the offense has top 10 level personnel talent, the ability to be a top 10 offense. Tonight we said, all three agree, top 10 level defense. There are very few teams in the NFL that have a top 10 in both of those that aren't a double-digit win team. It's you couple that with our schedule. Let's remember the quarterbacks, our top 5 quarterbacks we play are Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Matt Stafford, Kirk Cousins. That is our top 4 quarterbacks we face. We don't face Burrow, we don't face Mahomes, we don't face Allen, we don't face any of those guys this year. The schedule is loaded with rookie and second-year quarterbacks. It's the easiest schedule in the league by the numbers from last year. It's an 11-win team if we're healthy.
I'm with you on this one. I'm going 11 right now.
I will say, as a guy who's usually a Saints optimist, we have way too many rookies on our schedule not to be due for a loss to one of them.
One, right? I agree with you. We're not going to win all our division games when we should. We'll probably be favored in
We'll
all of
lose
them.
to Bryce Young in the. In
We'll
November.
lose one to the Panthers, and maybe we lose the
Richardson.
Falcons game in a rivalry. Go 4-2 in the division. You're still looking at 11 wins.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So
All right.
let's wrap it up. Anyone have any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, no, that's where we went around the horn with the state of the Saints defense. I think we have solidified that. Y'all have made it very clear that I did not watch shit on Kaden Ellis.
Confirmed.
And we'll address that later. But, next episode will be after we've gone through some rookie mini camp. The schedule will be out. And so we'll get into pretty much anything that's on the horizon at that point. So until next time, thanks for listening to another episode of the 28-3 podcast.
What a comeback!